afternoon. It's time for Midday Live on TV3. This afternoon, we will recap events that happened during the election petition case hearing we started this week, as well as other stories. So do stay with me from this afternoon at 12 to 1:30. Details coming up shortly. My name is Wendy Lai. The news in detail. The Supreme Court refused a request by the New Patriotic Party to mount equipment to give a graphic impression and clarity to the affidavits challenging the declaration of John Dramani Mahama as winner of the 2012 elections. Presiding Judge William Atuguba then said the court had not got that stage yet, and we bring you a playback of day one.
Issues was expected to be heard on the first day of the trial after parties were directed to serve the affidavits. Lead counsel for Nana Akufo-Addo, Philip Addison, told the court his side had not received service from the Electoral Commission and the NDC when he was called to move the court. In response, James Kwashi Aidan, leading the Electoral Commission, said his side will file the affidavit before Tuesday, April 17. The NDC's Chachu Chikata told the court his side was ready to proceed and sought to inquire if the petitioner's demand for service is not an attempt to ask for an adjournment. He said the petitioners could begin their case in the absence of the affidavits because they had the burden of proof. In a sharp rebuttal, Philip Addison said he was not suggesting that there should be an adjournment and said Chikata's clamor to have the case started was because his side had the affidavit. He said the court made an order directing parties file their case by affidavit, and that should be followed to the latter. After nearly an hour when judges went on recess to sit on the issue, presiding judge Justice William Atuguba adjourned proceedings. He said, in the interest of justice, the court will reluctantly adjourn to April 17 and directed the Electoral Commission to file the affidavits and serve all parties accordingly. The court also inquired if the president's legal team could put the affidavits in soft copy, as has been done by the NPP. Tony Letha said that will impose huge cost, adding his side's evidence has been put together in 5 short points. The same court also ruled that there should be live television broadcast following acceptance by all 4 parties to the suggestion. It said the court has taken the decision to erase any misconception that something is being hidden. In what could be described as a surprise, Electoral Commissioner Kwejo Afarijan represented the Electoral Commission. Order.
Alright, so like I did tell you early on, today on Midday Live, we're recapping the election petition case from day 1 to day 3. What you've seen and what you've heard probably on radio and on television. We'll be talking to one of our court reporters. He's the one who's been leading the court reportage here at TV3, Thomas Adote Papo, to give us his experience on this landmark case. Remember, you can also get interactive on Facebook and Twitter. It's News on TV3 or short code 1734. I will be speaking to some other people also, like the Executive Director for the Center for African Elections Media Monitoring Index, Dr. Mesan Maobe, to also give us his view on the media's reportage on this landmark election petition case. You also tell me what you've seen and your experience so far on this landmark case. Get interactive on Facebook and Twitter. Is News on TV3 or short code 1734. This afternoon I do have in the studio Thomas Adote Papo, our court reporter. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Wendy.
And thanks for your time, Thomas
Pleasure.
Now, before you got into the studio, before you joined me on set, I was asking you about the judges on the case, and I want to find out from you. Yes, you've been reporting from the Supreme Court, but looking at this landmark case, how different has it been for you?
Well, it's been different. It's been a landmark case, like you rightly said. You've never had an election petition of a sort before. I mean, this is the first time that there's an election and one candidate is challenging legitimacy of the sitting president. And in this case, we have the candidate of Nana Akufo-Addo challenging the president, John Dramani Mahama. He thinks that indeed he did not win the elections, and so he went to court for that matter. And so it's an entirely different case for every member or every officer of the court, including the judges. It's never happened before. And so you realize that when the case began, there were some challenges as to the direction. If you recall, when they finished with the preliminary, cases, that is, issues that were supposed to have been adjudicated on, it got to a point that parties in the case could not really agree on what to do. And so they came back to court for the court to direct them and give them direction as to what to do. So it's a different case, and for us journalists covering it, it's been challenging because having to go to the Supreme Court set for a long time, because indeed the judges want to do this case very fast. Looking at other cases we've had, recently with Kenya comes to mind readily, and the fact that there's pressure on them, the number of affidavits that they're supposed to deal with is quite huge. We're speaking about some 11,000 polling stations which the NPP are asking to be annulled. So you could imagine the enormity of evidence that they have adduced. It's quite challenging.
Now, looking at this very case, Adute, you're talking about how challenging it is, running back and forth, gathering your stories to enable you air them or report about them on television. You cited Kenya as an example. You cited what journalists have to go through as an example this afternoon. It takes special interest, especially looking at it being a landmark case. For you, doing this special report, let's take all other media persons out. Personally, how has it been for you, giving this special report from the Supreme Court?
Well, it's an opportunity, even though it's challenging, because you realize that it's only few people who will be given the opportunity to report from the court. It has to do with your competence, and I trust that anybody who will be sent to report on this case is not a half-baked journalist. Their houses might have looked at them well before sending them, because indeed any report that is sent out could have repercussions not only on the organization but the entire country. And so for me, I think it's a big opportunity, and I'm trying to jealously guard that opportunity to make sure that indeed I churn out not just any information that will have a negative impact on the populace, but indeed information that would entrench Ghana's democracy. We've come into a situation when we've been called as journalists to digress a bit from the norm, and you and I know very well in the newsroom we've come several times with this issue of having to speak to non-lawyers in the case, and for us we're trying so hard to ensure that what we give to the public is nothing but the entire truth.
And then I come to caution, which you've also touched on briefly. You can't get it wrong. You have to be cautious.
Exactly.
How far do you go when it comes to caution on your reports?
For us journalists reporting from the court, there are a lot of court jargons that are used, and if you don't take care, when one jargon is said, you might think that it means something else, or it means nothing at all, but it has a lot of meaning on the case that you are sitting on. So for us, usually what we do is to rely on lawyers who are well versed in one area. You have many lawyers, but there are some lawyers who are specialized in a constitutional part of the law, and so if you ask them, they can tell you the meaning of such words, what to do, what this ruling mean, what does ruling, so you really have to read why too as well. And for me, I try to read a lot of law books.
I know you watch a lot of law movies.
I watch a lot of movies on, you know, courtroom drama and the rest. That gives you, that equips you enough to be able to face what happens. Court reporting is very different. Unlike the usual news gathering, you have to have a lot of, you know, information to be able to, and knowledge to be able to report what pertains in court.
Now, let me take you back to day one. We just saw a story that was aired by you now, but you and the other media personnel who were there, day one, how did you find your feet? Knowing this very landmark case is quite new and we're all experiencing it for the very first time. Some are just watching it for the very first time on television as we see it here in the country. How did you find your feet?
Well, I mean, day one was one of the days that we all expected that the trial would begin. Unfortunately, the trial didn't begin. You know, I spoke to some lawyers prior to the first day, that is the 16th of April, as to what are the expectations regarding what will happen in court. And I think their prediction came to fruition. I mean, it came to pass because they were expecting that the two sides, or should I say all the parties, and here we have the first respondent, which is the president, we have the second respondent, which is the Electoral Commission, and the third respondent, which is the NDC, and they came in at the latter end when they asked to be joined to this case, and so it appeared that they were well aware of the enormity of affidavits that have been filed, and so they predicted that indeed they didn't think the case will start, and truly it didn't start, because if you realize, one of the petitioners, I'm speaking about the counsel for Nana Akufo-Addo, said that when it came to the first day, it was supposed to have been served with the affidavits of the Electoral Commission. Unfortunately for them, on the first day of proceeding, they had not been served with the affidavits of the Electoral Commission. So they made that known to the court, and the court ruled in their favor. Okay,
Adotei, let me hold you there. We do have DSP Freeman Tete on the phone line. He's our Accra Regional Police PRO. Good afternoon and thanks for your time, DSP.
Hello.
Can you hear me, DSP? Okay, now we've seen this case running for 3 days. I would want to find out for you if you would say that the police has been overstretched.
Well, I wouldn't say the police have been overstretched. What I can say is that we have satisfied so far. We've received the necessary cooperation from the public. Our security arrangement has always been in place. So this assignment is part of the normal assignment of the police. The police are there for all these things. So it will be out of place for us to say that we've been overstretched, because this is better than, this is a proper thing to do as a country. Disputes should be settled in court. So once nobody has gone on the streets to destroy life and property, I think it's good for all of us as a country. It enhances the image of this country. So the police are proud to be part of this whole exercise. And I believe at the end of the day, after this, then a lot of pluses will be for the police for maintaining security at the Supreme Court. Our names will be written as part of the history of this country. I'm talking about the Ghana Police Service. Just like the 2012 election, that we should receive high recommendation or commendation from the public and the international community. I believe at the end of the day, after everything, we'll receive similar commendation. So we will continue to do our work as professionals. We'll stay neutral and provide the needed security for all Ghanaians to have for the Supreme Court to determine this case.
All right. Now, DSP, earlier on this week when you came into the studio, we were talking about the numbers to be deployed at the Supreme Court. Now, we're moving to the second week of the hearing of this substantive case. I want to find out from you if you're confident and sure about the numbers you have deployed, whether they're enough or probably you might beef up security at the Supreme Court.
Well, what I can say is that we have the numbers as and when the need arises. Besides putting us numbers in place, we equally have a number of policemen who are on standby, so that in case of any emergency or in case there's a need to deploy them, then we will do that. So we have the numbers that will meet every situation that will arise. But we are hoping that nothing untoward will happen for us to deploy our reserve for that.
Okay.
So far, we have the feeling that things are going to be getting better in subsequent sittings because now that it's being telecast live on television and the radios are also broadcasting it live, we believe that there wouldn't be any police to deploy extra personnel for this exercise. So we will continue to keep this number and have the reserve by.
And then also when it comes to logistics, do you have enough and the required ones for your operation at the Supreme Court? And like you said, yes, it has gone on smoothly, but what if the unexpected happens? Do you have enough logistics to take care of your operations at the Supreme Court?
I believe on behalf of the police administration, I can assure that we have the necessary logistics to cater for anything that will happen. But we wouldn't like to overstretch this argument because in our own assessment, we believe that as it stands now, Ghanaians are law-abiding. We know there will be a few miscreants or a few deviants, but I believe we've done a lot of talking into this and giving assurance that we are going to maintain the peace, we are going to protect the Supreme Court. I've also gotten feedback that people are going to abide by our directives or any suggestion that we make that they should not come anywhere closer. We have been strict all this while. I've made it a point that whoever tries to breach the peace at the Supreme Court will have the full weight of the law sitting on that person. So I believe with this caution, we will be having scapegoats if they try to take the law into their own hands. But in any way, we believe the various parties will be talking to their supporters, personalities who have supporters following them, also talk to them, so that when they are getting closer and the police restrict them, they will heed our order and then stay put as where they are supposed to be.
All right, well, thank you very much indeed, DSP Freeman Tete. He is the Accra Regional Police Bureau. We're looking at the operation of the police and security personnel at the Supreme Court. That's looking in regards to the landmark election petition case. I still have with me Thomas Adote Pabo, our court reporter. But before I get back to you, Adote, we're looking at day 2 of the proceedings, and running mate of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in the 2012 presidential elections, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, on the second day of the petition hearing, told justices to annul results of polling stations that recorded constitutional and statutory violations because they were illegal.
That has been said already in court. And in our reportage, we try to bring that to the fore. And so, yes, we go the extra mile to bring out some of the incidents that necessarily you would not have seen on your television into our story. So, I mean, that's about that. So, the issue of televising the proceedings is of great importance, and many have hailed the decision by the Chief Justice that indeed it is a right way to go. And if you recall, Kenya's Own Tour was on television, and so I believe in the spirit of transparency, the Chief Justice thought it wise to have it broadcast live for everybody to see. Indeed, the other argument has to do with the fact that it is trying to eat into production time, because when the event is live on television, everybody wants to catch a glimpse of what happened, especially when you have a star like Dr. Bawumia giving testimony. So it's proving a bit of a challenge with some businessmen trying to restrain their staff from watching, but it's a national affair.
Still goes on.
It still goes on.
And for you, day 2, briefly before we even move to day 3, I'm sure by then you would have stamped your feet and know how to go about the ins and outs of the election petition case. Was it a lot more easier for you on day 2?
Yes, I mean, day 2 was fantastic in as much as day 3, and I mean, we're talking about yesterday, and day 2 for us journalists, we always looking for the news, and we were surprised, not too much though, to see Dr. Bawumia testifying. We thought that there would be some affidavits which would be read and what have you, but in the witness box was Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia testifying of what he has seen. Apparently, he has been he was selected by Nana Akufo-Addo to chair a committee to look into the elections, and they came out with several findings, and his findings were based on 4-pronged areas. Now, one was the fact that he complained of voting without biometric. Okay, and this is one of the bases on which they are contesting the elections. The second one has to do with the fact that some polling stations have the same serial numbers, right? And then the other one is overvoting. Now, once they asked him what he meant by overvoting, and he explained that overvoting could occur in two ways. The first is when the number of ballot sheets counted, right, is more than the number of names in the register. And so, I mean, he thought that in their analysis, they realized some, substantive amount of overvoting, and he brought that to bear on his witness, as he said, on the second day of the hearing.
Now, we're still watching Midday Live. We're still doing a review of the election petition case so far, how it's gone. And on our Facebook page, we do have some of your comments. Remember, I said you can always get interactive on Facebook and Twitter. Is News on TV3 or short code 1734. While Yusuf says that, hi Wendy, I think the court ruling will be fair to all parties involved. Yusuf Kubaja says that it is an interesting case as other Supreme Court parties showing how good they are when it comes to the law, but in the end, Ghana wins. You still watching Midday Live, but I do have on the phone line actually Executive Director of the Center for African Elections Media Monitoring Index, Dr. Mesan Maube. Good afternoon, Doctor, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
Now, we've seen 3 days of the election petition case at the Supreme Court. Your assessment of the media so far?
Thank you. I think the media has been very responsible in the coverage of the whole court proceedings. But besides that, especially one responsible aspect was when your own station went out to even find out a public sentiment towards the telecast. It's something that adds on to our democracy in terms
Dr. Mesan, can you please speak up?
Citizen journalism. Is it clear?
Can you speak up, Dr. Mesan?
Yes, I was saying that so far the Ghanaian media have been very responsible, especially considering the role your network played in going back to the society and finding out about their views on how the media have been covering and even their own views towards the telecast. It's something that adds to our democracy in terms of promoting citizen journalism. But on the other hand, when you look at some of the print media, we have to be mindful of how we frame the court discussions of the various exchanges between the parties. Some of them, I think, is gradually leading into sensationalism, and we should be a bit mindful of that. Otherwise, the importance and the objective of giving the whole court proceedings a live broadcast will not really achieve that aim in terms of from the journalistic point of view. For instance, others using phrases like so and so box this and so lock up in horns. We have to be mindful of how we select phrases to cover these events.
Okay. Now, Doctor, this election petition case is purely legal and very, very technical. Yes, you've said that even TVs, we did go out to ask public views on it being televised. But also, do you think that the media has done well to explain these technicalities to Ghanaians, or probably for the ordinary Ghanaian to understand?
Technicality, this is where I would say media hasn't done so well in terms of playing that mobilizing role. The role of the media is to mobilize society towards a cause, towards a policy line, towards a national discourse But when you look at it, I think this should also be used as a reference point where all media houses should now even decide to employ legal practitioners who will be acting as their legal respondents or correspondents. We don't seem to have this in the country, and I think the time has come to room to employ people with legal backgrounds plus journalism background for them to be reporting some of these legal issues, just like we don't even have medical correspondents in this country. So this is actually a test case for the Ghanaian media, and especially Ghanaian media owners.
Of course, it is a process, but while we get there to employ, and the example you've just given, legal practitioners to probably practice journalism also, in addition to that, how would you say the media and the legal profession have related looking at this very landmark case?
I think the media to some extent got itself carried away and trying to get the beats from the court by giving excessive media space to political views, which were not really adding to the values of the discourse that we are confronted with as a nation. And I think this is where we have to be using our role of selecting what issues should come up to the public domain. Immediately after court proceedings, you see media practitioners actually eliciting or soliciting for political views on that. It's not a political issue. It's now moved from political into a legal realm, and I wish the media would look at it from that perspective.
And how would you expect the media to handle this very issue, talking about reporters speaking to politicians after the case has been heard and probably when they go on recess? What exactly should the media do? Should they ignore them totally, or there's probably a way they should go around it?
Yes, exactly. There is a way to go about it. The way to go about it is that each of the political entity has legal practitioners. I think they should constitute the news value that the media should be approaching, and not the politicians themselves. You might have a general secretary who might have a legal background. They should be left out, but rather people who are really defending the case and those who are actually putting their petitions across. These are the people the media should be using as their source values, and not those without these boundaries.
Now, yes, before I let you go briefly, this is a landmark case. How do you think, from where you sit, the media is helping to deepen democracy in this country? Your very own assessment within these 3 days, aside what you said early on.
I would say the media has done well, and then as much as we patting the shoulder of the media, we should equally pat the shoulder of the judiciary by actually accepting the role the media plays in strengthening democracy. I think if the media has been left out totally, we wouldn't know what would have happened in terms of exchange of discourses. But with this, it's a clear indication that the media has come to stay, and Ghana as a country has realized that the media has a central role to play in our democratic development and dispensation.
So what would be your score for the media for these 3 days, although the case is still ongoing?
While the case is ongoing, the media should continue upholding the ethics of professionalism and sharpen itself on what and who constitute their news values so far as this case is concerned, and their news values should be devoid of political values and rather concentrate more on political legal practitioners. And I think that will help us to strengthen the exchanges that we want to gain from these discourses.
And your score for the media, briefly?
My score for the media, I would say, is 85%.
35%. All right. Well,
85. Yes.
Okay.
The media hasn't done poorly at all.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. I just spoke to the Executive Director of the Center for African Elections Media Monitoring Index, Dr. Mesan Malbi. Adosai Papo, Thomas Adosai Papo, our court reporter, is still in the studio. And I'm sure you've heard some of the things that...
I think Dr. Mesa is very generous on the media.
Why are you saying so?
I'm a media person, yes, and I would be happy if we've been scored 85. But I have my reservation because there's a lot more we can do. And the issue about speaking to party general secretaries is a very big one, which we restrain ourselves from all the time, and that has been some contention for us in the newsroom too as well. And so, well, I wouldn't try to give the media any marks because I cannot give, that marks. Maybe, being a judge in my own court because I'm a media person, so I'll not attempt to give any marks. But I think that the rules on lawyers speaking to journalists is clear, and I cannot fathom why the GBA is not being hard on its members. I have spoken to some lawyers who are involved in the GBA, officials, and they are of the opinion that a lawyer involved in a case, okay, if you are the counsel in the case, you should not be seen speaking to the media. Okay, another lawyer could speak on the issue, because if you did that, you are prejudicing the case, and that could be contempt. So that in this case, we don't have the counsels who are involved directly in the case speaking to the media. In the case of the New Patriotic Party, and I'm speaking about the petitioners, we have Gloria Akufu, who has been elected as a spokesperson for the petitioners. And then you have Nana Atudazi speaking for the NDC. So then you realize that why would general secretaries of the parties come and speak to the media? Certainly, they don't have any role there, even though some of them could be lawyers. It brings some question as to why they should speak to the media, because indeed when they start speaking, they will end up doing politics. And yesterday I was very careful when I spoke to some notable members of the NDC and MPP, asking them questions regarding what transpired in court, so that they will not do any politics of the sort.
Let me hold you on there. We're still doing a review on the election petition case. It's still Midday Live on TV3. I do have on the phone this afternoon lawyer Abraham Amaliba. He's the member NDC legal team. Good afternoon, lawyer, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon to you and your viewers alike.
All right, lawyer, I would want to find out from you. Now, do you expect to see more objections on this case, and is this likely to drag the case further?
Objections in themselves are not new in our litigation processes. Objections are used by lawyers to press home a point or to ensure that something which is about to be done is not done because the laws do not allow it. So it is part of the legal process. It is not used in the sense that you are not used to delay the process. Every lawyer must be vigilant to ensure that he protects the interest of his client. So the objections are used to protect his client's case. I do not think that at any point you can just say it's an objection you want to raise. No, the judges will not allow that. So objections are used sparingly, and they are used just because you think that some rules of the game are being infringed upon.
So for you, you would explain to the ordinary Ghanaian that this doesn't drag the case at all in any way?
No, it's, as I indicated, an integral part of the litigation process. You cannot have litigation without lawyers raising objections. I would have a feeling that the ordinary Ghanaian would want to see the end of this matter. But you see, the legal process does not play out that way. The legal process is also inherent with checks and balances. And so if you think that you just want to hear people talk and then the judges take a decision very fast. It doesn't happen that way in any part of the world.
Okay, now before I let you go, the issue with cross-examination, is that also a factor, probably to explain to the ordinary Ghanaian, that will delay the case? Has the Supreme Court time for cross-examination or a duration for cross-examination?
Not at all. Just as how there's no time limit for examination in chief. You see, the examination in chief is for the plaintiff, and in this matter, the petitioner, to state all the case that he has against the respondent.
Okay.
So the Supreme Court cannot say, I am giving you 5 minutes. What if the person has not finished stating his case? In the same vein, the respondent who has to cross-examine must also do a diligent work to expose some inconsistencies in the evidence in chief. So in this regard, there is no time limit for the lawyers to stay within.
Okay.
But what I know is that with the way the trial has been structured, because we are not going to have witnesses coming in open court to give oral evidence. So when we are able to cross this path, that is when the parties are able to give their oral evidence. That is all of it.
Okay.
As for the witnesses, they will not appear in court because they will give their evidence by way of an affidavit.
Okay.
And so I envisage a speedy trial. I see this trial ending in the shortest possible time.
All right. Well, thank you very much. The lawyer, Abraham Amaleba, he's a member NDC legal team. We heard you also not feeling well. We wish you a speedy recovery, and thank you so much for speaking to TVC. We're doing our very best to speak to the MPP side on their view. We'll also look at a review of the election petition case. But we'll move to day 3. Counsel for President John Dramani Mahama in the ongoing election petition case has accused the petitioners of deceiving the court with similar pink sheets to support their affidavits. But speaking during the cross-examination, star witness Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia denied the allegation and asked the court to annul some 4 million votes. A report by Thomas Adote Pabo and Komala Kluche. But before we take that very story, Adote, I've just been schooled when I spoke to lawyer Maleba on some of the issues that has to do with the cross-examination and also the objections. And for him, he believes that this case should end quite soon. It won't take time. For you as a reporter, what is your view? Do you think this case should drag or it should end as soon as possible? But at least you get to learn a lot more.
It's obvious. It's obvious. We learn a lot more, yes, but you know, we all want the case to end quick enough, because you realize that for the president who has been sworn in, he needs to have the peace of mind to administer, and for the challenger, he needs to know where he stands. I'm speaking about Nana Akufo-Addo, because then where lies the truth? And so, in as much as this case offers an opportune arena for us to learn, we really want the case to end, so Guineans could get on with their normal life. So I think it's a good thing. But earlier we were speaking about the issue with the media, and I was saying that Dr. Mesa is quite generous, because there was a time we were in a courtroom, okay, and this issue about Dr. Faraja not coming to court, and for the very first day came to court on the 16th of April. Well, I thought that when the issue was raised in court, there was no issue at all, but I was surprised the next day to find out that a lot more media houses use that as their main story, and I'm speaking of their lead. For me, I thought that was no issue at all. Dr. Farajan could be represented by any official of the Electoral Commission, and in this case, he was represented, right? So for media persons to use his absence in court as their big story and speak about it for days, I thought it was, you know, it was surprising. And that, for me, I thought the media should be careful. There were issues that were in court that should be exposed, and some of them overlook that and look at the small stories, which for me, if you ask me, there are no cases at all.
As I so next week the case continues. Exactly. What should we look out for next week?
Next week, on Monday, we have the cross-examination going to be continued. Yesterday, you realized that the counsel for the president had to cross-examine the star witness in the person of Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, and he was trying to establish some point, and he finished with that yesterday. And next week we're likely to see, they advertised that they will vigorously cross-examine Dr. Baumia because of the things he said regarding his analysis and the fact that they think there should be some 4 million votes annulled and Nana Akufo-Addo will be declared the winner. So we are going to see some skyrocketing, groundbreaking, questions, and that will be thrown at Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. And well, we've all seen what has happened so far in the court and their responses. Sometimes the questioner, I'm speaking about Mr. Tonelita, at a point in time his voice was a bit too harsh, and he realized that one of the judges, Joseph, cautioned that we should be careful in what we do and how we respond to certain things, because indeed it's a very serious court, and anything that would mar its beauty would not give its credibility. And so the court is very serious on contempt especially. And I remember one of the judges saying that if it becomes too much, would have to evacuate the entire courtroom so that only the parties involved will sit in the case, and that would be very bad for us, as journalists covering the case. So I hope and believe strongly that we'll all adhere to the tenets of the court and try to behave in the courtroom, especially in cross-examination when there's some, few actors there.
Thank you very much indeed, Thomas Adotai-Papo. Here's our court reporter, and he helped me do the review on the election petition case. Midday Live return shortly. We have business and sports and probably some international news. Don't go away.
All right, so thank you very much for staying with us. For those of you who just joined us, it's still TV3, and Wandilai has been updating you about all the court proceedings. She would come back with more, but my turn, we'll do business, talk about the Ghana city, and then also look at some updates on our local front. First, let's talk about the minimum wage. It definitely borders on your salaries, so definitely you wouldn't want to have a feel of it. The National Tripartite Committee is expected to conclude consultations and negotiations on the daily minimum wage by close of next week. Well, stakeholders are expecting a 35% increment over the current minimum wage figure of 4 cedis 848 pesos.
Daily minimum wage is determined by a national tripartite committee involving government, employers and organized labor. The wages amount pegged by the committee, of which employers are expected to pay in conformity with the amount provided. In 2008, the minimum wage was pegged at 2 cedis 25 pesos and increased to 2 cedis 65 pesos in 2009. The following year, the minimum wage increased to 3 cedis 11 pesos and further increased to 3 cedis 73 pesos in 2011. In 2012, the daily minimum wage rose to 4 cedis 48 pesos, representing about 20 to 25%. Currently, consultations and negotiations have begun for the 2013 national daily minimum wage. TV3 has gathered stakeholders are considering an increase to about 35%. However, some experts have raised concerns about whether government budget can support the demand and also productivity in the public service. The National Tripartite Committee is expected to conclude all the negotiations before the close of next week.
All right, so right here on TV3, we would always find out more and bring you details as and when we get more on the minimum wage. Let's do other business stories. As president of the CropLife Ghana, William Kote wants the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to revitalize and modernize extension services to improve food security in the country. He made the observation at an international stakeholders workshop on agriculture and environment here in Accra.
The regional federation representing the plant science industry and a network of national associations across the world. It is committed to sustainable agriculture through innovative research and technology in crop protection, non-agricultural pest control, seeds and plant biotechnology. The president of CropLife, William Kote, said the existing legislation on pesticides should be made fully applicable and enforced to ensure suppliers and distributors of illegal and unregistered products will be held accountable for the threat they pose to human health and environment.
Our industry is faced with a lot of challenges, as indicated. The farmers are not getting the right technology, the farmers are not getting the right training, they are not getting the right product. So we have to find a means so that we can get the farmer a quality product that will enhance his productivity. Because at the end of the day, it is money that is invested and he has to get the best return of his investment.
He stressed his outfit is committed to intensify education on farmers, especially in rural areas, to promote modern agricultural technology practices. He lamented the sector was going through lots of challenges, including inadequate knowledge of product, inefficient import controls leading to the entry of illegal and poor quality products onto the market. The chairman of CropLife Africa and Middle East, Eric Bureau, said the organization would work tirelessly with stakeholders to ensure modern techniques of farming are propagated to promote food security.
All the measures that we are promoting to improve the use of pesticides by farmers, to ensure that the pesticides are used at the right dosage, in the right place, at the right time, with the right level of safety for the user and for the environment. So the goal of the industry is not only to sell products, it is also to make sure that these products are used safely, the right way, at the right time.
And to help you grow your business that you're looking at. And here we have a business philosopher, Jim Brown, to advise you this afternoon. Well, so Jim Brown is saying character isn't something you were born with it. It can't change. Like your fingerprints, it's something you weren't born with and must take responsibility for forming. So your character comes into play a lot anytime it's about business, and this business philosopher Jim Brown is just giving you that tip that it's something that you need to work on.
Thanks for saying you're still watching Midday Live on TV3. We have the Red Tiger in the studio. Hello, Joel. What do you have for us this afternoon?
Well, I mean, as we're going for the weekend, obviously, week 22 of the Globe Premier League fixtures. I'll be running by viewers the fixtures. And yesterday, also at RLG IBO Bantamweight champion Joseph Agbeko presented his title that he won. And other interesting update in the world of sports here.
It's your shot.
Very. Okay, so all the details right after this. Alright, welcome back. Let me quickly run by you fixtures for match day 22 of the Globe Premier League games expected to come off this weekend at the various league centers. Who becomes who in this season's Globe Premier League? Remember, Mediama are still lying on top of the Globe Premier League, but just a point away from Kumasi, away from Brekum Chelsea, who are hoping to win their game this weekend. So the fixtures there for you at the Accra Sports Stadium on Sunday. Hearts of Oak will be battling it out with Mediama, Tema Base, Mediama, and at the Tema Stadium, Tema Youth will be sharing, they will be hoping to get all the 3 points needed against Liberty Professionals, Dansoman Base Liberty Professionals. And at the Jemfi Park, Edubiasi will be taking on Kumasi Asante Kotoko at the Jemfi Park. And the Babayara Sports Stadium will be seeing Alaji Grunses King Faisal as they rub shoulders with the Diana Stars. And at the War Park, All Stars at the War Park welcome Brekum Chelsea at the War Park Park in week 22 of the Globe Premier League. And Takwa TNA Park will be seeing Midiama as they play host to Ashanti Gold at the Takwa TNA Park. And also, Dwarfs will be playing RTU at the Robert Mensah Sports Stadium. And Arsenal, Brecum Arsenals, will be taking on Heart of Lions at the Golden City Park. So those are the fixtures there for you. Match day 22 of the Globe Premier League fixtures for you. Now, still on football, the Retired Footballers League is organizing a knockout tournament involving 19 teams this weekend. This followed the successful ending of the first half of the second season.
The knockout novelty will be held at 5 league centers within 3 zones on Saturday, April 20. 6 clubs, Ashaiman, Teshi, Accra, Liberty, Newtown Oldies and Scarp Rangers have been seeded by virtue of their position on the league table. 3 other teams, La Oldies, Cosmos Legends and Osusalem Oldies, have drawn standby. Winners of the 5 preliminary matches will be added to the 6th-seeded and the 3 standby clubs for another balloting. Accra East Oldies will welcome Kotobabi Oldies to the Osu Akweje Park, whilst Tema Community 1 Chidiase Park will be the venue for the match between Tema Veterans and Achimota Oldies. At the Mamprobi in Dafa Park, Uncle Old Stars will play host to Ashedu Keteke Oldies, while Medina Oldies welcome Nima Oldies to the Medina Aviation Park. The final match will be at the Nungwa Town Park between Nungwa Oldies and Tema X footballers. All matches will be played at 8 a.m.
Well, to boxing now, where the newly crowned International Boxing Organization bantamweight champion Joseph the Fresh King Kong Agbeko paid a courtesy call on the Chief Executive Officer of RLG, Roland Agambere, to present to him the title he won at the Accra Sports Stadium on March 22, 2013. Representing Roland Agambere, Prosper Harrison Ado, the ground head legal and corporate affairs of RLG, congratulated Agbeko for his achievement. The new IBO bantamweight champion Joseph Agbeko was accompanied. Also, the new IBO bantamweight champion was accompanied by his coach and some executives of the Ghana Boxing Authority to pay the courtesy call on the Chief Executive Officer of RLG. Joseph Agbeko, affectionately known as the Fresh King Kong, presented the IBO Federation bantamweight belt to Prosper Harrison Ado.
15 months, and I thank God Almighty for the strength to come back again. I just won another title. I'm moving to the next one. Definitely, I'll be moving up in weight. Definitely, I'm sure my next fight will be a different weight, and I'll be campaigning there to win another title at that division this same year by God's grace.
Alright, still on boxing now. The Golden Mike promotion bout will now be held on Friday, May 3 at the Accra Sports Stadium. Leading the pack will be a 10-round crucial weight contest between undefeated Brian Makamoko, aka Bukom Banku, against Georgian George Tevashvili. The bout, which was originally scheduled for March 30, was called off for unexplained reasons. The new date will afford 8 local boxers pitching their strength against 7 foreigners and 1 compatriot. Outspoken Bukom Banku will slang it out with George Tvedoshvili of Georgia in an international crucial weight, whilst Joshua Bukom Chachu Okai will face Alaba Ogotote of Nigeria in an international lightweight contest. The WBA African lightweight champion Samuel Amwakun will also engage Tofik Bisuga of Nigeria in an international contest over 10 rounds. For the first time in more than 2 decades, a competitive female bout is set to be held in the country, and the Ghanaian-based Nigerian Helen Joseph will light the stage against Hungarian Mariana Gulias in an IBF Intercontinental Featherweight title. Albert Mensah will take on compatriot Ben Odamite in the IBF Continental Africa Super Lightweight Championship, while Issa Samer battles battles Georgian Robinson Omashvili in the IBF World Youth Light Middleweight Contest. The final bout will be an international super middleweight contest involving Basti Samer, who will be staging his first professional fight in Ghana, and Ademole Feni of Nigeria.